everyone. Welcome to the Wedding Honey podcast, the podcast where we chat about weddings with a little bit of sweetness, because we all know weddings can be stressful. We're here to lighten that up. Follow along if you'd like to hear journeys about wedding photography, wedding photographers, and of course, the wedding day. We're also going to be interviewing wedding specialists, and we can't wait for you to follow along. The Wedding Honey podcast is brought to you by Wedding Biz Kit, a photography business course created by Sounds Like Yellow Photography. After 4 years in university, knowing I wanted to start my own wedding photography business, I had no clue how to write a proper invoice or even professionally run my business. I dug deep and curated a brand that is creative just as much as it is professional. Now, 8 years in of running my own successful business, I am proud to say I have the course for you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wedding Honey podcast. We are on our 10th episode, which is so exciting for me. It's like this little hurrah moment. And I thought, what better time than to bring on a guest who is like the most inspiring. Oh, so welcome, nice. Krista of KJ & Co.
Thanks. I don't know if I'm inspiring or if I'm just a blabbermouth.
No, you are so inspiring. I think from the first time I met you, I was like, that girl's on the top of my list.
Oh, you're sweet.
Honestly. And watching, we were just saying we haven't seen each other in a really long time, which really
We had
sucks.
a lot to catch up on.
We did.
And a lot to chat about.
Oh, and we were like, okay, we should probably push record.
We should hit record at some point.
But watching from afar, you're still so inspiring. You do things.
You're going to make me cry.
I'm like, two minutes in.
Pod. I don't know. Lately, I feel like a bit of a shit show. No. So it's good to hear that people are still liking what I'm doing.
I think a lot of people are inspired by you in the wedding industry, but also, like, I'm going to say, like, as a mom, I think you're a very mentor type in like the mom world.
Sometimes I think I can be a bit of like an angry football coach though when I'm talking to people about business. So when I'm like, I do offer, sometimes I try not to make it unsolicited advice, but I'm always happy to offer my opinion.
Which people need more often, I think.
Right?
I think.
And so I feel like sometimes when it comes up in conversation or whatever, I'm like, nope, you should be doing this, and this, and this, and this. And I just want to like motivate people and light a fire under them.
Oh, yes.
But then it's kind of up to them what they do with it.
Yep.
Which is a hard part for me to just kind of watch
and see where the flame goes.
But yeah, like I joke that I've never said that before. Like I joke that I can be a crazy ex-girlfriend about my business. But now I've realized that I'm an angry football coach.
Okay.
When it comes to like business to business.
I like
for
that
people.
though. I think people need an angry football coach.
Okay, good. So if you need an angry football coach in your life,
call
I'm your
Krista.
Girl.
Yeah, call Krista and she will tell you all of the things you need to know.
Yes.
But also like we kind of did a little catch up on like your family life, which has grown and is so beautiful. And yeah, you're like killing it in the mom family world.
Okay.
Totally. And from the outside it looks like it, but also I'm sure from the inside too. Like maybe some
You're very
days...
sweet because I did admit that I'm sitting here with snot on my jeans.
I love that
and
though.
That
I love
sometimes,
how real that is.
Right? And sometimes I don't get to brush my teeth until 1 p.m. But that's kind of why I decided I wanted to be a mom boss. Yeah. Like I wanted that flexibility and you just have to be able to laugh at yourself.
Yeah. And Krista also mentioned to me that during those hectic times, you look at your husband, Dave, and you say like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
Like if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Yeah. So you have to have a sense of humor about it.
And that is so awesome. You yourself and Dave seem like a really good partnership when it comes to like these crazy moments.
We are like a yin and yang.
Yeah.
Like I am the pessimist to his optimist. He's the sweetest, most outgoing, happy-go-lucky, helpful, generous guy.
Oh
and then
gosh.
I'm me. Like, and I joke that I have a little black heart. So that's like we balance each other for sure. But he is also probably my biggest cheerleader as a business owner.
Yeah.
He'll if I mention anything, like he'll run with it. He's 100% behind me. So
that's amazing.
I lucked out. I don't know how so, but I did because something happened when I met him and like I don't know. I had good karma that week.
It was just like fireworks or something.
Yeah, I lucked out big time.
I just want to say, like, another side note. You guys went to Disney recently with the kids, and that looked like the best week ever. The picture of the 4 of you in front of the...
there was actually 16 of us.
Oh, my.
Yeah, there's a picture.
Okay.
Yeah, with 4 families, 8 adults, 8 kids. We stayed in one house.
Oh my God.
And then the 16 of us went to Disney. It was so much fun. We didn't spend like the entire day together, all of us, all at once. Yeah. We kind of linked up back and forth and whatever. We had our meals together that day. But it was fun. It was a ton of fun. It was a zoo. There was a couple points in the day where Dave and I looked at each other and thought, like, I don't know if we're going to make it until the fireworks. And then we were on the phone with my mom at one point, and she said, if you can make it to fireworks, you will never regret having those memories.
Aww,
and so I do remember we were all huddled on this pathway staring at the castle, and I was just kind of like rotating which kid was in my arms because they were both kind of fading at that point. Aww. And the fireworks started, and Hannah hated them because she doesn't like loud noises. Oh, but she tolerated it. She let us stay. Yeah. And then the whole bunch of us looked at each other with about 2 minutes left in the fireworks display, and we were like ready to go. And we were like, posse, roll out. And we just moved like so fast through the crowd and just out the gates. And it was perfect timing, but it was really fun. It was a super fun trip. We had a really good time, and we made some great memories, and I would do it again.
Hey, that's pretty amazing because you were just there.
Yeah.
When was that? A couple weeks ago?
Yeah, beginning of April.
Okay,
yeah.
So to just be there and
I'm all
still
recovered.
Say it now?
It was worth it.
Good.
Yes.
And a memory that your kids are just going to love.
I don't know if Calder will remember it. I hope Hannah does.
Pictures. He'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
The pictures are hilarious.
Yeah. But just the 4 of you in front of the castle, I was like, this is so special. Yeah. What a moment. So cool.
It was a lot of fun.
So first, I want to kind of chat about KJ & Co., but I would like to tell everyone that's listening that we are going to be chatting about wedding shows because Krista has taken on the giant job of curating an amazing show, Wedwell Showcase. And we're going to hear all about that.
Because I'm crazy.
Crazy,
I don't
brilliant.
have enough on my plate.
Crazy. I know we were also, before doing the podcast, said that she should do a podcast. So let's all reach out to her and say, yeah,
don't
you
say
should
that because then David's going to be like, yes, she should. And he's going to order all the equipment and I'm just going to like sell it on eBay because I don't have time.
Okay, maybe give it like a year and then we'll all be.
Yeah, talk to me in 2020. Yeah. Oh my God, am I going to have a wedding show podcast? Oh,
yes, geez. You probably will. 100%. This is, oh my God, I'd be so happy if that happened. So, okay, so first tell us about KJ & Co. And your experience in the wedding industry and what KJ & Co. is.
So KJ & Co. was my first baby, I always say. I started it in 2012.
Okay.
And my career path is kind of long and windy and all over the place, and I get into this on my Instagram. I have it highlighted as a story because I told that. I just had my 7th anniversary, so I got on stories and told the story of KJ & Co. I got into events through my mom. Right. So I got it from my mama. She worked for Decor & More in Oakville, Toronto area for years and years and years and years and years. She won't like me saying that. And that's how I got started in the event industry.
Wow.
So without getting super long-winded into that, I then went to college and graduated from Mohawk College with a business marketing diploma, which I knew I did not really want to go and put into use and sit at a desk job. So I went to hairdressing school first. Graduated from hairdressing school. Anyways, this is all in the stories. I could sit here for an hour and just tell you my life story and how I got to this point. So I started KJ & Co. In 2012. I wasn't married yet. I was living with my husband, and I had weddings on the brain. And I knew that if I started blogging on my weird little DIY decor blog about weddings without being engaged, I was going to kind of look like a little bit of a crazy girlfriend. So I started blogging for weddingobsession.com. So they were a Canadian wedding blog at the time. And the first Wedlux show happened, and Melissa, the owner, came to Toronto to go to the show with me.
Oh, wow.
And we went for dinner, and she was like, you should be planning weddings. Like, you need to start this. And it was so funny that it was somebody who was so outside of my own, like, inner circle was the one who kind of, like, needled me and was like, you need to do it.
Yeah.
So I registered KJ & Co. on Valentine's Day 2012, funny enough, completely coincidentally.
And you just were inspired.
Yeah, I was just feeling in love that day.
Yeah.
We don't really celebrate Valentine's Day.
No.
So every year I buy treats and it's KJ & Co.'s birthday.
That's the best.
Because Dave says every day is Valentine's Day.
Aww.
So,
the absolute best. That's so cute.
Yeah, I typically end up cooking. And then we have like a treat from the dessert room, actually.
Oh.
And then, shout out Marcia. And then, so I started it in 2012. I was working full time. I had a crazy demanding job at the time too. And I just kind of went balls to the wall with it. I did my very first wedding show in 2013, I think. Yeah, it would have been 2013.
You jumped right in.
And I'm pretty sure you were, I don't know if you were at that one too or not. I can't remember.
I think so.
Did you do it that year?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then I was super duper lucky that like the style I liked at the time was super duper trendy, and I had vintage rentals as well that kind of caught everybody's eye.
Big time.
My house was just filled with mason jars at the time. Now I don't ever want to, I think I get PTSD when I see a mason jar now, an aqua mason jar. Not that they're not beautiful. They have their place.
They do.
So anyways, I worked really hard, like around the clock basically.
Oh yeah.
And then in January 2013, my manager came to me and said, like, we need you full-time in Toronto to turn the clinic around. And I was like, oh, I don't think that makes sense for me right now. Yeah. So I basically called Dave and asked for his blessing to quit. And this is like the second time because I tried to leave them in the fall and they wouldn't have it. So I was full-time by January 2013, and we were getting married in about 5 months.
Holy.
But it was one of those crazy things where once I had all the time in the world to devote to KJ & Co., it took off that much more because all my energy was in it again.
Right.
And I remember the very first day that I was going to work from home and Dave was going off to the office, and I like kissed him goodbye on our stairs, and I was still in my pajamas, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm completely self-employed now and this is my life. Like my commute is 8 steps from my bedroom door. Cool. I don't have to wear pants if I don't want to. And I think that was the thing that appealed to me at that point.
That's amazing. The things that inspire you.
The things that inspire us.
Right?
I also always really wanted my own business because I wanted flexibility when I did start a family, because my parents were both entrepreneurs when I was growing up. And I remember that really fondly. Now that I'm in the thick of it with 2 kids, it's a little crazy, but I don't think I could go and do something more traditional right now. Yeah.
It would be such a whirlwind.
It would be such a change. Like, like I said, having to put on pants every day would be a real struggle.
It would be a struggle. And I think it would be a change even for your kids.
Yes.
They would be like, what? Why is this changing and that changing? It would be a huge struggle and a whirlwind.
And my kids are like me.
Family.
They don't deal well with change.
No?
No.
So maybe not.
No.
Maybe not great.
No.
So then that was, you just celebrated 7 years.
Yeah, we just celebrated 7 years. So my main focus with KJ & Co. is wedding planning.
Right.
Now I offer month of coordination, which I should be getting in the habit of calling event management, and full planning. I stopped offering partial planning because I think it's a bit of a unicorn and it doesn't really exist. It's basically full planning with a partial planning price.
Oh, okay. That's not ideal.
In my opinion.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it wasn't working for me. I would say it just stopped making sense for me to offer.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I spend most of my days working from home. I have an office in our house. I have my little guy with me a couple days a week, which is tricky and stressful and fun to get work done. So he's a year old now.
He's a year, okay.
Yeah. He's
busy? A busy
he's
1 year?
A handful. He's a loving 1-year-old.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't like to not have my full attention. So typically I'm home working on client tasks, and that's like my day is kind of driven by email, which is terrible. I know there's a million different habits that I need to adopt in terms of like time blocking and that sort of thing.
So hard to implement that.
And I am a control freak. So like what I think I'm doing works for me, I'm going to keep doing it, even though I say I'm crazy and stressed and busy. So my process works for me in a weird way.
So just keep going with it.
Yeah.
Now, are most of your clients then, now this year included, are most of them the full planning? Like, do you find that's the most popular?
I would say it's about half and half.
Okay.
Yeah.
The full and then
full planning isn't for everybody because it's a big chunk of change.
Right.
But I've also really always enjoyed my month of clients. Some planners don't like month of because it tends to be people who don't have their shit together, their clients.
Okay.
But in my case, my month of clients have been awesome. Like, they're my style. They pick good vendors. And so it's not like I'm walking in and dealing with a can of worms. And they're my type of people. Like, I've pretty much always been myself in business. So I don't think I'm everyone's cup of tea, take it or leave it. But I think that clients who've connected with me and booked me picked me for a reason. So we worked well together and we have so much in common. And that's why we all still Instagram stalk each other and like talk all the time.
Right.
So I've always enjoyed my month of clients. So it's a nice break compared to the full planning clients because that's way more hands-on and time-consuming.
Oh, gosh. I can imagine.
But I've also been very picky about my schedule since we started trying to have kids because I realized there was only so much work I could do without going insane or disappointing my clients or my husband.
Smart.
And making sure that everyone has my time and attention. So
and you're just being realistic about everything.
100%. You need to be realistic about what you are capable of dealing with.
Which I think is hard for some people to be like, okay, I have to say no right now. The power of no.
We were talking about that when we were catching up. Like, for me, learning to say no was a huge part of, like, when we started the journey towards parenthood and realizing, like, what I could realistically fit in my schedule for me and my sanity. And so I will say, like, I have zero regrets about the work that I've turned down because I know that I did it for a reason. And, you know, saying no to something is saying yes to something else. And so if I get an inquiry that has even a whiff of like, this does not sound like my cup of tea, or, you know, I already know that I really don't have room for that. Like, there's a reason why I closed off my schedule and it is what it is. And there's only so much I can do and do it well. So
Brilliant.
I have to be really... I've gotten so much. I mean, once you learn to say no, it rolls off the tongue. And, like, you'll tell your own grandmother no and, like, shout in her face. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I'm not Oprah. I need to stop.
I'm not Oprah.
You get a no and you get a no. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, learn to say no.
It also is such a positive for those clients that have decided to work with you and you've decided to work with them. It means that, you are very...
I'm a lot of things.
Yeah. You're very selective.
Yes.
So it's means a lot, I'm sure, to them for you to say, yes, this is going to go forward.
They all feel blessed to be on my roster. Yeah.
So that's a really, and I mean, you're very smart with the time that you spend with your family. Right. So to say no to something, to spend time with your family, will always take
And
the cake.
honestly, I think most of the no's are pretty obvious.
Right.
Like.
Interesting.
They're like, you should know your red flags. Know your reality. Like, I keep a calendar right in front of my computer. So if I get an inquiry and I look at the computer and it's like, ooh, that'd be 3 weekends in a month. That doesn't really make sense to me. Or I need to decide, well, wait a minute. Like, does that wedding sound like my dream wedding? Do I really make it work?
Interesting.
And a lot of the times I still have to say to myself, like, what's my reality? Can I really devote myself to all of that? Can I work 3 weekends in 1 month and not feel like that client's going to be waiting, that last client in the month is just going to be waiting and twiddling their thumbs until I've dealt with the other ones and they're finally a priority. So for me, I think really paying attention to my schedule was 2 things. 1, knowing that my family was going to take a lot of my time, and 2, understanding that work needed to be spaced out because I wanted my clients to feel taken care of.
Right.
And I'm like my last priority now.
Oh, gosh.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
You still look great.
I've come to thanks. I found this really cool spray face tan. I'll tell you about. Well, it'll be in the show notes.
That is amazing. You really do. So
Thanks.
somehow you're just pulling it off.
Oh, thank God. Dry shampoo.
thank God.
People ask me all the time, like, how are you doing it? I'm like, dry shampoo and stress eating, folks. That's it. That's my secret recipe. Doritos and Moroccan oil dry shampoo.
Amazing.
Like, if I had a sponsor,
It works.
it would be Pepsi,
True.
dry shampoo, and then Doritos.
Yeah, and Doritos. Side note, also Doritos. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So KJ & Co. has done so well. So well. Really, really awesome to see it kind of grow because we've been kind of in the industry at the same time, I think. So really great to see it just grow and blossom.
I'm blushing. You can't see it, but I'm blushing.
She is. It's nice. It's really sweet. So we want to chat about wedding shows.
Yes.
So what are some wedding shows that you've been a part of?
Oh my God, what wedding show haven't I been
I know.
part of?
I was excited actually about this one. Like, I wonder which ones because I don't know all of them.
So I've done it all. I've done like our local regional show. So when I say local, I mean like, so where we are, we're kind of smack dab between Niagara wine region, which is blowing up for weddings and destination weddings, and then like Toronto, big city Toronto. So the Hamilton wedding shows I've done, which is like, you know, your typical regional, larger convention center type show. I've done the Wedlock show in Toronto, which is crazy, crazy beautiful and like high-end upscale. But also I think a bit intimidating, both to vendors and guests.
Yes.
And then I've done a pop-up. Pop-up's the wrong word for it. So the first look is in Niagara, and it's a really neat, small boutique show.
Yeah.
And it's curated, and it's a beautiful show. So I've done them all. I've experienced them all.
Yeah, literally every facet of a wedding show.
I think there's pros and cons to each for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I did the Hamilton shows in the big convention center, the very first year I did it, so I mean, this was great for me at that stage. So the first year I did it, I picked the smallest, most inexpensive option. Mm-hmm. And I went and I set up the best booth I could do that really was true to my style. And I booked 5 clients from it. So I was laughing. Like, not only did I make my money back in like tenfold, but the people I met were awesome. They were like my ideal client, and I met them there, which I think now is kind of a fluke.
I agree.
Yeah. So, and I mean, still to this day, I Instagram message with a couple of those clients. So they were the right people for me. I did that show again, and it was a bit of a nightmare. But they'd changed locations. And to make a long story short, I realized at that show that it was very quantity versus quality. And so a lot of the brides that would come through the door there were coming because it was an inexpensive ticket. They wanted to meet as many vendors as they could. They were basically price shopping, and they were there for the freebies.
Big time.
And if my ideal client was there, they were kind of at that point terrified by all the sales pitches and totally overwhelmed. And for the most part, like, beelined out of there as fast as they could. So I wasn't really connecting with people the way that I did the first year.
Right.
So I didn't do that again. I think I did it the 2 years. Yeah. The Wedlock show was incredible because it was beautiful. So I was so excited to do it the year that I did it because I was so excited to be involved at that level.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
But I found that it was very intimidating for the guests attending the show. And I think the people who walk in there with a 6-figure budget were actually few and far between. And I don't think I booked anything from that one either.
Oh, really?
So as much as it was great, and it was like one of those things like, I'm so happy to be here, there should be a legitimate return on investment when you participate in a show. The first look show was incredible because it's curated and it's a smaller show and it's very stylized, I would say, and that the vendors kind of buy in and they're like, we want this to be a beautiful show, and there's no pipe and drape. And so I kind of realized like we were missing that in our area.
Big time.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
It was like a huge hole.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The Western GTA, we didn't have anything that was stylized or well curated, and it was basically like, if your check clears, you're in.
100%.
Right?
Like, there was no...
Yeah, there was no secret sauce for anybody. No.
And then you felt like everyone, few and far between. I'm the same as that person.
Yeah. And like you didn't really stand out as the diamond in the or diamond in the rough's the wrong word, but the shining stars like were not obvious.
No.
Because everybody, like, if my ideal client was at that show, they were just like, oh, let me get out of here as fast as I can.
Yep.
So I realized we needed something, but then Wedwell Showcase was like a daydream of mine for years and years.
For years?
Years.
Because you had mentioned it to me years ago, and I immediately was like, yes.
Yeah.
You need to do this.
And it kind of just sat as a secret pin board on Pinterest for years, and I would pin stuff. Every once in a while, I would reach out to a venue. Because part of this also came about from the fact that I think 2013, one of my friends lived in California, and we were both getting married that year, and I went out to California to visit her, and we went to the Cream. So the Cream, do you remember the Cream?
Yes, I used to just drool over the Cream.
So it's not around anymore.
It's not, eh?
No, but it was basically the cream of the crop. And so it was a show, but it was a boutique wedding show, and they did it in a couple different of like the big cities in the US. And it was the most amazing show. It was at Vibiana in downtown LA, which is like this old gorgeous cathedral with a big courtyard. Ugh. It was such an incredible show. It was so colorful. And they had a theme that they followed every time. So I was lucky enough to go to the Cream. I think might have even been the very first one. I can't remember. Gosh. And it was incredible. So that was probably what kind of stirred the pot for me initially. That I was like, we need something like the Cream at home. And so I would approach a venue, and then they would have different stipulations. And I was like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I would kind of put it on the shelf again for a little while. And then it wasn't until I would say January 2018 when I was like 5 months pregnant, and with my second.
With your second, yeah.
And I looked at my husband and I was like, I need to finally do that wedding show. And he was like, okay. But everyone else I talked to was like, Krista, what are you doing? When do you have the time? I'm like, I don't know, but we need to do it. It's fine.
Let's just do it.
I'm going to do it. So I reached out to our venue, and they were on board. And I reached out to a couple of venues, and I was still kind of hitting some roadblocks in terms of like, if they would allow other venues or other caterers to exhibit.
Interesting.
And I said to myself, we really need to allow every type of vendor and venue for it to be a well-rounded experience for the guests.
For sure.
Like, it wouldn't make sense if I hosted a wedding show and there were no other venues there. Like, that's not fair. No. It doesn't make sense for the clients. So I talked to a couple different places, and then I found our spot. And they were great. They were super accommodating. And then I kind of ended up launching my registration for the show in the middle of wedding season, which was not ideal. And I also, at the time, had a newborn at home.
Right.
So there was that, too. And that was interesting. But I don't like to do things the easy way.
No.
No.
I think anyone who knows you would say that. Yeah.
I do, but I don't.
But not in reality.
Not for anything for myself, no.
So when you first put out that,
right.
What did you just call
The exhibitor kit?
Yes.
Okay.
When you first put out that exhibitor kit, did you think you would have the results that you did? Like, were you nervous? Did you know that there was going to be a good chunk of people that were interested?
It was definitely scary, but I knew, because I'd been talking to people about this for years, I knew that people wanted it. Yes. Like, I knew that we needed it, and that the market was there for from the vendor point of view, that they wanted somewhere to connect with their ideal client in person that was a level above our regional shows, but that wasn't as intimidating as Wedluck's. It was something that was a little more upscale, a little more stylized, and not just like your typical pipe and drape convention center show.
Yes.
Like, walk the aisles and collect all the free stuff.
Like, that would be good for a first time.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to get your foot in the water, but we needed something bigger.
Right. Yeah. So I knew from talking to people that there was definitely a market for it, but then it was definitely a bit scary once I actually had to sell it and I was approaching people and kind of like cold call emailing them, especially the people who I hadn't talked to about it before. So the people who I'd been chatting with about it for years were like, yes, finally, 100% sign me up. Yeah. And then the other people were kind of like, ooh, brand new show. I'm in the thick of wedding season. Like, you haven't proven yourself. So selling it was a little bit scary and very, very time consuming.
Oh, I can imagine.
Very time consuming. But it happened, and slowly but surely, like, we sold out the show from an exhibitor perspective.
Amazing.
So that was good, and that was fun. But then it was like, oh my gosh, like, I've pushed this big ball up the mountain, and now I need to finish. So that felt like stage 1.
Okay.
Where, you know, we'd branded the show, we had the plans, we sold it. And then it was like, oh my God, now there's a whole other animal of selling tickets and like getting clients or guests through the door so that my exhibitors feel like they paid a lot of money and actually met people.
And that's I think the
hardest part. That was scarier.
Because it's actually very hard to get people out of their houses.
Yeah.
To an event.
In January,
let alone it being like so cold.
I can't tell you how scared I was that there would be a blizzard and that it wouldn't happen and I would just be sitting there on the day and it would be empty, but knock on wood, it didn't happen.
Yes.
So that was probably the biggest. So yeah, the first stage was selling the show to the exhibitors. The second stage was selling the show to guests and getting the word out that way.
Did you find that was tricky? Or did you...
It was tricky because in terms of ticket sales, most of our tickets were sold in the last week because people would make their plans kind of, I mean, they would know they wanted to go, but then they would like buy their ticket closer to.
Makes sense.
So that was a little bit scary on my end, like looking at the Eventbrite statistics and just being like, oh my God. And now I also have the benefit that my husband's social media director. So like he was helping me / doing all of our Facebook and Instagram buys. So I had that in my back pocket that like I have this expert who I'm basically paying in kisses, but then I paid for the advertising.
Of course.
But it was so lucky to have him to make use of to execute those campaigns properly instead of just like figuring it out myself. That was a big help because I mean I did most of this myself and that was crazy. So yeah, selling the tickets was nerve-wracking, and then
sorry to interrupt. Did you do sales at the door as well?
Yes, we did both. Okay. So what happened was I launched the tickets for sale October 31st. Okay. And I remember the moment where I was out of my house because I had to be out of the house for the cleaning lady. And so I called her, fell asleep in the car. We'd gone to the grocery store and then he fell asleep. Anyways, I was sitting in the McDonald's parking lot using their Wi-Fi before I could go home. And I thought, I wonder if we've sold any tickets.
Yeah.
And so I checked the email and we'd sold one. And I remembered so funny enough, like I was like in tears, happy in my car. And then months later, that bride actually emailed me to inquire about working with KJ & Co. And I was like, oh my God, I remember your name. I'm so happy to hear from you because you bought the first Wedwell Showcase ticket. So that was an incredible moment. And now I get to work with her. But that just kind of hits home for me that like my ideal client was the type of person who got it and loved the idea of the show and bought the ticket and bought in. So there was a couple keeners and really awesome people that supported us and bought tickets early on. And then most of the tickets were sold in January.
Yeah.
Which
does make sense.
Yeah. So we sold most of them online. And then we also had tickets available for sale at the door. I think something, and you've heard it here first, folks, I think something that we're going to do for Wedwell Showcase 2020 is sell half price or something like that, discounted tickets for the last hour of the show for industry people. So that if they want to come and check it out and network, they can come at the end of the day where it usually drags anyways.
That's perfect.
So that's something.
Oh my gosh, does this heard it here first?
Yeah, that's an exclusive to the Wedding Honey podcast.
Ooh, that makes me
I've got to
excited.
figure out exactly what that means and how I'm going to frame it. But
I think that's brilliant, though.
Yeah, because the last hour of any show always drags.
It's the worst, and that's when you're kind of like, okay, let's really make this worth it.
You need something to re-energize you for the last little bit.
To have those vendors come through, brilliant. Yeah. I love that idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
I thought, were you fit?
I was totally, yeah.
Sure.
I love it. That was the cutest.
I have a new trainer who wants to fist bump all the time. And I don't know if it's like his thing or if we're awkward about it or what. Anyways.
I love that. We just did a fist bump.
Yeah.
Just super casual, though, because we're so excited about it. Amazing. So, yeah, so Wedwell, this is, 2020
Yeah.
will be in January.
Yeah, so for me, I've decided that January makes the most sense because we're capitalizing on engagement season.
For sure.
Most engagements happen now in that last quarter of the year, especially around Christmas and New Year's. August is now apparently the second most popular month for engagements, which is weird to me, but I think that's when people take like their summer vacations.
That's true.
But yeah, it made perfect sense to do it in January. It's a little bit tricky in our area because there are so many shows happening there, and we did go up against the Wedlock show last year, but it didn't hurt us. We sold out the show. We sold out of our guest bags and everything. We had over 300 people through the door, which was incredible because, I was sweating it in the last week as those tickets started taking off and flying off the shelves. And then they came to me the day of the show and told me the swag bags were gone. And I was like, what? Because that was my biggest fear, was probably that I had two fears about Redwell Showcase. One, I was scared that somebody was going to tap me on the shoulder the day of the show and be like, we have a really big problem, and know that it was on me to deal with it.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's kind of one of the scariest things about wedding days and like executing someone's wedding.
For sure.
The second thing was that I was going to be bringing home swag bags at the end of the day, that we weren't going to sell out, and that I was going to have 85 people through. That was scary for me, but more so because I wanted my vendors and my exhibitors to feel like it was worth it. And so when they told me all the swag bags were gone, I was like, oh, thank you, God.
That's the best.
That was awesome.
Yep.
That was really,
and
really cool.
And you've done a really good job. At that point, you're like, okay, I've made it worth it for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every vendor that I've talked to has been like, oh my gosh, over the moon.
The feedback at the show was really, really positive, especially from the vendors, and it was, and even the guests, I remember chatting with the mother of the bride, and she was saying, you can see that everybody here compliments each other, that there's not a sense of competition, that you would all work well together, and that everybody's a step above wasn't the right word that she used, but that everybody there was quality, that it was quality people who did quality work and just wanted to connect with the right people. And that was it for me about doing the show, that I find being able to connect with someone in person and chat with them about my work in person makes such a difference. I don't think that I could do an inquiry and a consultation with every person who gets in touch with me. I can't sell ice to Eskimos.
Right.
I'm either the right person or the right budget fit for someone, or I'm not.
Right.
But when I get with those well-qualified people and I can sit down with them and they get to see me and how we interact and if we fit together, that's important. And I think the wedding shows are a great way to connect with people in person and let them see your personality and talk them through your stuff and your packages and your services or your product, because you never know what you might say in person in that moment that they might still not get from your Instagram account or your website or whatever. So I think you're your best salesperson.
I totally agree. I think that's what, and I'm sure it's the same for you, what pushed us to
that's
go
why I
to
like
a wedding
shows.
show. Yeah. And I think it's such a necessary, I'm going to say necessary for all vendors.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say necessary evil.
Oh. Also,
it
is. But I think it's so necessary for every vendor to experience it at least once. And there are those vendors who are a little bit quieter, a little bit more shy, who say, you know what, wedding shows just aren't really for me. But it's just to at least try and see and have that one-on-one with the client.
For
because
sure.
there's you learn so much about them and yourself.
Yeah.
And I
think it's a good way to kind of stretch your marketing muscles and learn how to chat with people in person
about
because
your
nowadays
business.
So much of it happens online behind a computer screen and
behind these beautiful photos.
Right? Behind these beautiful photos, and it's some of it is smoke and mirrors. And so you go to a show and you're talking to a vendor, maybe not at Wedwell Showcase, but you're like, ooh, who's this person?
Totally.
That's not who I want to spend thousands of dollars with. Right? And then you would go and meet somebody at Wedwell Showcase. And So basically with Wedwell Showcase, when it came to the exhibitors, I did a round of invitations where I had kind of a wish list of people who I wanted to participate, and I approached them first, and then I opened it up for applications. So I was picking, so it's a curated show. So it's not just anybody who signs on the dotted line was going to participate.
I love that.
I was picking people based on, you know, their portfolio and their body of work and their experience level and their customer service and that sort of thing. So if it was a business that I knew had terrible reviews or was just a factory and like wanted to crank people out, that wasn't really who I pursued or approved for the show. So I really wanted the guests that came through to feel like they were meeting quality vendors, that they could trust the people they were chatting with, and that they weren't just going to be another date on their calendar.
Which is so nice, like for us as the vendor to be like, no, I actually want to know your story. I want to know everything about you as a couple, rather than...
And it should be relevant. Like, I definitely got approached. I mean, some of the wedding shows get a bad rap because they have different businesses involved that really aren't specifically wedding related. Like, they might be like, yeah, if I'm engaged, I want to shed some weight for the wedding. Yeah, I'm going to go to a gym. But if I'm going to the wedding show, I don't really want to meet a personal trainer. That's not who I'm there for.
Or like wherever, LA Fitness or whatever it may be.
And if you're in that stage of life, like you are going to be buying a home, or maybe you already have, but like, I don't really want to go to a wedding show to meet a mortgage broker.
It always confused me, to see a mortgage
And I did have those people approach me.
Oh, did you?
But what I said to them was like, I really just don't think that that's what our clients are looking for at that point. And I did offer them, we did have the swag bags.
Smart.
And I think that was almost smarter for some of those kind of linear exhibitors where like, don't spend all the money to be there in person and stand there and have no one talk to you, but like throw your business card in there and have someone say like, ooh, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
But it's not who they want to spend 40 minutes chatting with at the wedding show.
And those are the type of people, from what I've seen, that are usually quite aggressive with sales sometimes. So I'm like,
that give the shows a bad rap.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Because now they're not going to want to talk to me after that.
No.
It's so hard. I think the curated shows are much better.
Yeah.
I'll go on record to say that. And to have someone that you trust. Like, I would look to you, Krista, and say, yeah, Krista will be able to put her stamp of approval on these people that will be a lot better than maybe someone that would be in one of those convention.
And I mean, like, I didn't have a fashion show because I don't think brides want to see prom dresses. Like, it should be wedding related, and it should be a fun day. You shouldn't go to the wedding show because you want freebies. You should go because you want to meet those people. I mean, nowadays couples are spending a lot of their own money on their weddings, and so when you're handing, thousands of dollars over to your photographer or your venue, and you're signing that check away, you want to feel good about the people you're spending money with. So getting to chat with those people in person is a great way. I mean, you can do internet research in your pajamas at home on Friday night till the cows come home and do it as much as you want. Absolutely. Look into all of it. Yeah. But the wedding show was the perfect way to it was like your one-stop shop of like approved, great quality people where, I mean, we had varying price points. We had vendors from kind of between, I would say, Toronto, Mississauga, Oakville, GTA, Hamilton, Niagara area. And people got it. Like, and I remember too, like trying to explain to the vendors as politely as possible about doing nice looking booths. And that could be something so simple, but it still needed to be pretty and simple and not just a folding table and a folding chair.
Oh, no.
And I remember on the Friday night, because we did a Friday setup. So the electricians came in and did their thing. Then we taped out all the booths. And actually, my husband and Karina, who coordinated the day for me, she taped out most of it with David because I think Dave and I would have gotten divorced by the end of it. And they did a really, really great job, and they worked well together.
What a team.
Dave and I are both used to wearing our leader hats in our work positions, so we don't work together very well on certain projects.
Hey, at least you know.
We know that. Yeah. So they taped out, I would say, 90% of the booths because it was just not working, him and I doing it together. And that was awesome. So, yeah, then all the vendors started loading in. And then I remember on Friday night, it was like 8 or 8:30, and I was by myself on the show floor for a couple of minutes. And I looked around, and I just had this moment of like, holy crap, it's happening. It looks awesome.
I love that.
So that was really cool. Like, I think I Instagram storied and I was just sitting on the floor and I was just like, oh my God, like it's done. It happened. So, or it wasn't even over, but like the show had happened and it had come to life and people bought in and they got it, what we were trying to do, and they put their best foot forward with their displays. And then Saturday morning rolled around and I don't know if I slept that night.
No, probably not.
But I say now, like, I sometimes feel like I have to apologize to people I spoke to at the show because I don't remember. Like, it was basically an out-of-body experience.
Well, for sure.
And I feel like I probably talked a mile a minute all day because I was so excited and it happened and it looked incredible. And I was literally at one point bouncing up and down, and my mom was walking by me with a box of things, and I almost knocked her over. I did. I knocked the box out of her hands.
But I was pure excitement.
The pure excitement.
Oh,
it was really, really
that's
cool.
That's so nice. And we were saying there's a photo of yourself with with your two kids.
Yeah.
And I love that photo.
The kids stopped by in the morning. My in-laws looked after them that day, and they came by that morning, and I have a picture of me and Hannah and Calder in my arms, and then my can of Pepsi's on the table behind us, which is so funny that it's my third love.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like my favorite picture from the entire show.
Love it.
I had a beautiful booth, but that's my favorite picture.
Yeah.
And Christine from Christine W Photography took it for me, and I love it. And she also took a picture of Dave and I at my booth, and I printed basically those pictures because I have to get them framed still, but it was really cool. I don't think the kids totally understood how much work had come to life there.
They were like, cool, this looks nice.
Yeah. Calder was like, where's my snack?
Yeah.
But having that picture and like knowing that I accomplished all that and we did it, it was the funnier thing that weekend was someone called Dave Mr. Krista. He's gonna kill me for saying this, but he was so helpful, and he just ran around and did like whatever we needed that day, and he was in his suit all dressed up, which he likes to dress up. I hate it. I was in a dress and I hate it.
Get me out of here.
Get me out of it. I could have done the show in pajamas if you let me.
Oh, that's so funny.
He was so helpful, and that made me die laughing because it was actually funny enough. A friend of a friend who also has a wedding business, and she does really, really cool stuff, and she called Dave Mr. Krista, and I was like, I love it.
That's so special, and it shows that he like is really supportive.
Yeah,
obviously. My
family, my parents have always been huge cheerleaders of me having my business. Dave's parents have always been incredibly supportive, and Dave and his brother, and nobody in my circle was like, you're insane. You're crazy to do this. Everyone in the industry who I would chat with was like, oh my God, Krista, what are you doing? But they were funny about it, and they said it with a grain of salt. And I was like, I know I'm insane, but it has to be done.
It's going to be done.
It's going to be done. So it happened.
So what? So we know that the reason why you really did this was because we in this area needed it.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that like really pushed you? Like, why was it at that point?
I think I'm just a serial entrepreneur, and I lie awake at night when I'm trying to listen to the monitor and decide if the baby's fully awake or not, and if I have to go in his room. I'm constantly coming up with ideas. So in addition to KJ & Co. and Wedwell Showcase, I also have Isle Academy, which has kind of been on the back burner while we're all having babies. But I love this business. I love this industry, and like I have a million business ideas, and I love kind of helping others kind of excel and coaching and business and stuff like that. And so Wedwell Showcase was something I needed to do because I wanted everyone else to have that opportunity and that space to meet new clients and stuff. Yeah. Wait a minute, what was the question?
I was amazing. I was just saying, like, you wanted to do this Wedwell Showcase. Yeah. But what was it that really pushed you? And you just said you were always
I couldn't leave it anymore on the shelf. Like it needed to be done.
Yep. I get that.
And I wanted to do it, and I was saying too, like, I could stay up all night and work on this, and like work on my business ideas and work on Wedwell Showcase and like tweak the exhibitor PDF until the cows come home because it's exciting to me. It's nerdy, but it's exciting to me, and so it had to be done. Like it wasn't, and I never got into it because I was like, this is how I'm gonna make thousands of dollars this year. Like I did it because we needed it,
right?
And so I mean, do I make money from it? Yes, and that's great, because otherwise I wouldn't
Of
bother,
course.
because
That
I
just
need
makes
to be
sense.
paid for my time.
Yeah.
But I think at this point I'm like a serial entrepreneur,
Yeah.
and I have a million
I think that's great.
ideas.
Keep going.
Oh God, all
We
my
can't
gray
wait
hair
to
is going
see
to come from this.
No. I'm sure we're all like, okay, just waiting to see what Krista's going to do next.
I don't know, guys. What do you need next?
Yeah, exactly. What do we
Slide
need?
into my DMs and tell me, what do we need next?
Amazing. So what do you think is one of the biggest lessons you learned for doing your own wedding, hosting your own wedding
I
show?
learned that it's not all happening behind screens, that brides and couples still want to connect in person and face to face with their wedding professionals.
Yay.
And one
That's
of
the
the
best.
things that I was really pleased with about Wedwell Showcase was that couples came together. It wasn't just brides and their BFF or their mom or whatever. There were couples that came and they enjoyed themselves, and the grooms weren't intimidated. I don't think they were bored. I think they realized that it was important that they were there and that they connected with these people as well, because they were going to be up in their grill on their wedding day and involved, and they were signing those checks too.
I love
So it was important. And it was funny because when I first started KJ & Co. and I was going on consultations, initially it was mostly all the time brides and maybe family members or whatever. And then as more grooms would start joining in on that consultation, initially I thought it was strange, but then it kind of dawned on me like, no, it's important, because this wedding is about that couple. And I should say couple, not brides and grooms specifically, because there are weddings with 2 brides and weddings with 2 grooms.
Yeah.
I haven't been lucky enough to have one of those yet. I realized that it's about them.
Right.
And that it's about the celebration of them and their relationship, and not just the bride having her big fluffy pink party.
Yeah.
So
true though.
Right?
And I think every vendor sees that. Like, I love when grooms come.
Yes.
And when they have an opinion.
because you should have a connection with them too, because I'm, as much as I'm going to be like up in the bathroom with my hands up someone's dress, like fixing something with a safety
tying a
pin,
bustle or something.
I'm also going to be the last person in his face tying or connecting his corsage or pinning his corsage and like telling him what to do all day. So like hopefully he likes me too.
Agreed. Yeah.
So it was really awesome when I got to chat with couples that day and
love
see that the grooms were happy to be there, and it was important to them to meet those people and see what it was about. And I also think the wedding show was good for couples, because whoever is not as involved on planning day to day, it's like a one-stop shop for them to be like, I like that, I don't like that, don't ever put that in our wedding.
Yeah.
This is an insane amount of money to spend on something. Like, it's really a great way to like kind of be in the thick of it and see it all. So that was really cool that the grooms bought into it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love hearing that happened, because, I mean, when we do wedding shows, when we did, a lot of it was the bride, the bride's friends, and it's just so nice.
And most grooms, so in a traditional couple, like most grooms can't really get excited about peonies and ranunculus. They don't really give a shit.
That's okay.
Which is fair enough.
But they
might have an opinion.
And they sometimes do. Like, it's funny. I'll ask like some of my brides, and with their grooms, they'll say, yeah, he didn't really care about anything but this one thing. And it's like, I love that. Okay, knowing that it's important to him, let's really put a spotlight on it. Let's, so it's so great to hear that they are actually going to these shows and like making their voices heard a little bit more.
For sure.
Thank God.
Because I always worry sometimes when a partner is more hands off in the planning. And I worry that they're going to walk into wedding day and be like, what is this? And not feel like there's a piece of them in that celebration.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think even planning my own wedding, and I'm sure with your own, Dave probably had opinions.
He had some opinions.
Yeah. Who knows what happened with some of them? I don't know.
I think he enjoyed it.
Right?
For the
And
most
I
part.
think that, like, as long as you can both say, like, confidently, yes, there was both of us in this
Because there are definitely things that, like, okay, honey, you do what you want.
Totally.
Because they're not going to lose any sleep over a bridesmaid's dress or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the bottom line, it's about both of them.
Yes.
And so there should be a piece of both of them in the day, and they should have their voice heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be, there's some no's, I don't care, and some yeses, I really care.
And sometimes you'd be really surprised, those partners that you think are going to sit there and be quiet, and then they get dragged along to a meeting and like, here come the opinions. And you're like, okay, great. Like, please tell me. Because if you have an opinion, like,
let's hear it
about your wedding. It matters.
And maybe it'll take that couple going to a wedding show to hear those opinions.
Yes.
So another
I think it's
really
like an
good
open
reason.
space. It makes more sense for it to come up then, for sure.
Well said. Yep. And if it's a comfortable space for both of them.
Yeah.
Which Wedwell Showcase obviously is.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so any advice that you have for any wedding vendor wanting to do a wedding show, just be a participant, what advice would you have?
So I would say do your research and like look into the show and figure out like, is the region of people that it's attracting, does that make sense to you? Because I mean, we even had vendors jump when I first started talking about the show and, you know, posting things in different formats and areas, who were like, yes, please give us information. And I was like, you're a DJ from an hour outside of our target market. Like, this doesn't make sense for you. As much as it sounds awesome, it doesn't make sense for you. Right. So as an exhibitor, you should know the market, I would say, like, consider whether your ideal client's going to be there. Sometimes they're not. Yep. If you're going to do a show, there should absolutely be a return on investment. And sometimes it means taking a little bit of a chance. So, I mean, I took a chance on the Hamilton Wedding Show that first year that I did it. And I did my expensive little table setup. And I booked 5 incredible clients. I think that was a bit of a fluke and also had a lot to do with my price point. I was super accessible then.
Okay.
So that helped.
You still took a chance. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to take a chance and do the least expensive show you can find in your area, go for it. Yeah. Just know, like, who's coming through that door. I would also say whatever show it is, do the best booth you can. I don't mean go out and, like, put everything on your credit card and, like, overextend yourself.
Right.
So if that means, like, keeping it super duper simple and doing a setup that's really simple and clean and, like, obviously branded in your stuff, great. The other thing is, no matter how obvious you think it is, your display, or if you have in 10-inch letters that you're a photographer, people will still be confused about what service you offer.
Literally every year.
So you as a photographer, like, if you have one little centerpiece in the corner of your booth, people will still want to check if you're a florist or not. So
I get decor. I'm like, nope.
Be patient. And I always say, like, so this isn't just my one piece. This is, like, all my advice. So
I love we're getting all these tips.
Right? Be patient and know that, like, if people are walking by, that's fine because they're not your person. Yes. There's going to be the type of brides or grooms or whoever that kind of walk by and want to scope out. They might reach in and grab your business card and then, like, walk away for an hour, or, like, want to go home and creep you on the internet. They might circle back and talk to you for an hour. Yeah. Or there might be a bride who randomly saw you on Instagram and is coming to that show because they want to talk to you.
Right.
So be patient and don't fret if everybody's walking by, because all you need to do is connect with those few people that are right for you, right?
And
so, like,
make it all worth it.
Every client who's getting married is not your ideal client. You have your person and you want to reach them. So I would say focus on quality, not quantity. But if you want to kind of dip your toe in the wedding show pool, I would say it depends on your budget and start where you can and see how it goes. Brilliant. If it's a small investment. But I mean, on the flip side, you don't want to pick a boutique show if you're a brand new business and spend all this money and go, and then find that the clients who are there are really looking and can afford established businesses. So as much as your price point is well under their budget, they're not even going to consider you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. No, it does. I think too, like, some people get confused maybe, or like there's a confliction of like, ooh, I don't know. It's so worth it to go and at least meet people and just be there, get your feet wet, try it out. But those are great tips.
Yeah, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Agreed. Yeah.
And if you do your research and you kind of go into it saying, like, all right, I'm going to try this, and it was a couple $100, great. If you, do your research.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, give it some thought, and then just keep it simple. Like, if you spend a little bit more to do a certain show that makes sense to you, then figure out what kind of inexpensive setup you can do to make it still affordable, that still speaks to your brand. Right. Even if that's something as simple as, like, a bar in front, like a rented bar in front of you for $100 with your logo on it, and you can sit and chat with people and also have that nice little barrier of people in between you.
Right?
then it's done and it's clean.
Perfect, clean, easy. And people aren't coming, people are coming to see you and talk to you. It is nice to put your booth together that does speak to your brand, but if you can't afford it, then keep it simple.
Yeah, and figure out what's the affordable thing to try,
right,
and then see what happens. I mean, if you have the time, go and visit a show before you exhibit in it.
Oh, such good
But then
advice.
also, like, if you're an industry person attending a show, know that the other exhibitors aren't there to be sold to.
Right.
So that's always kind of frustrating as an exhibitor when you've spent hundreds or thousands of dollars to be at a show, and then someone else from another business comes up and wants to talk to you and tell you about their business. That's fun, but that's better left for a coffee date.
Maybe like email us
Yeah.
before or after.
Yeah. Thanks, but no
Well
thanks.
well said. But scope it out. I like that. Scoping it out.
Or creep their hashtag from previous
Brilliant.
years on Instagram. That's
Such a
another
good
good way
idea.
to kind of see it and see the brides that were at the show.
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Creep, 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 and then creep some more.
/ research.
It's research.
Creeping,
Sorry. Creeping research.
Same.
Research.
Amazing. Oh, I love that.
I just coined a phrase.
Creep search?
Research.
Oh, crease.
Crease.
I can't even say it. Creasearch.
Creasearch. There you go.
I love that.
Right?
I'm doing my creasearch.
Right? It's business.
Okay, so we got all the tips about wedding shows. Thank you.
No
That's
problem.
so kind. So we're going to jump back to weddings.
Yes.
So what would be your favorite part of being a part of someone's wedding story?
For me as a planner, it's just knowing that I'm making my clients' lives easier.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my experience as a bride was very stressful. I won't go into detail.
That could be like
have
a
you heard
whole
about my
nother
experience
podcast.
as a bride? And like,
I feel
I
No.
had like stress tummy issues when I was planning my wedding.
No,
I won't
didn't
even
know
go
this.
into detail.
Oh no.
That's a story for another day and a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
But I like that as a planner, I can make my clients' lives easier, take some of the stress, because I'll never make it perfect, but I can take some of the stress off,
Yep.
help them through decisions, and be that voice of reason and like professional to consult, and just
Right.
being a part of that memory, like making sure that their wedding day was like a joyful experience and not them circling the room like I did as a bride. I mean, I had fun at my wedding, but I definitely think I ran laps around the ballroom.
Just to make sure you saw everyone or got everything done?
I don't know. I feel like
You
as
were
soon as
just-
dinner was over, like the day I woke up
love
on
it.
my wedding day, I was so happy. I was like, it's my wedding day. I don't have to plan this anymore.
Yeah,
No
it's
one's going to
done.
bug me anymore. There won't be any, like, it's fine. It's wedding day. This is great. All our work is coming to fruition and it's my wedding day. And I'm so excited to like marry Dave and start that life.
Yeah.
But then I feel like as soon as dinner, and I was a happy, excited bride. It rained,
course.
and I
You
was like,
looked it.
whatever,
You looked
like,
it, yeah.
get me to the ceremony. It's cool.
Aw.
But then I feel like as soon as dinner was over, I went into coordination mode, which is really when
That's
there's
so
nothing
funny.
else to
Yeah.
do.
You were
And
just
I
like,
think
"It's
I
my
just
turn."
circled the room. I just circled the room.
just had
and like
steps
talked
to
to
hit,
people.
maybe.
Yeah, like I what do you call it? I had my
Your Fitbit on?
step Fitbit on my ankle under the gown. Just kidding.
Imagine.
So yeah, so for
Isn't that
me,
funny? So it really hit you in the evening.
yeah.
So planners out there, when you get married,
Good luck.
no advice, just good luck.
But it was, my situation was also different because I'd started my business.
Right.
And we were getting married. And so I
Same
felt like
year.
I had a lot to prove to everybody of like, this is why I'm doing it. And
Right.
like I was, walking in my mom's shoes. So
Well said, yeah.
it was an interesting time. I lost
Big
30
time.
pounds leading up to our wedding in the first year I owned my business just from
You
like the
lost
stress.
30 pounds?
I was stress eating like it was my job, but I managed to lose 30 pounds.
I don't even know how possible that is, but that's amazing.
I was on like a steady diet of
Wow.
carbs and Pepsi and Doritos, and I still lost 30 pounds.
Just from stress.
From stress.
That's incredible. What
Yeah.
the body does, it's
Ugh.
mind-boggling.
If only my body. I will tell you, it's not working that way now. I'm not shedding the weight from the stress now, but anyways.
Wow. Okay, so that obviously
I
was
don't recommend it.
No, of course. But that the morning you let go, but it was the evening that you were
Yeah.
like, okay.
Which was so stupid because everything had happened.
yeah, everything.
And
was,
now it was just like dance and get drunk and have fun, and I could not shut it off.
isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I mean, I have super fond memories of the day.
Of course, yeah.
But I just remember, like,
that moment.
Running laps around the room.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, there's got to be something else I should need to do right now.
That was just like you're in that zone.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why you are the way you are.
And that's why you have a coordinator.
Yes.
Someone else who's going to sweat
Who's going to take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed, for sure. So when would you, I mean, we ask everyone this question and it kind of fluctuates, but when would you normally be booked in the wedding planning process?
As a planner or a coordinator, the sooner the better.
Okay.
So that I can help my clients manage their budget and make good decisions, right?
Perfect.
So like even for my month of clients, the sooner the better, because in my case, they get worksheets to kind of help them through the planning process.
Smart.
Because I find people make those initial decisions by themselves, and they, whether it's the venue or certain big budget items, and they don't realize how that shapes up with the rest of their budget. And then all of a sudden they've overspent somewhere pretty significantly, and it causes some big roadblocks to be able to afford other items that they want because they've, blown their venue fees or whatever. So I would say the sooner the better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you find people are booking out 2 years?
It depends.
Yeah.
I already have a couple weddings for next year, and they're full planning, which is great because we are starting like from the beginning, like planning everything. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, you can plan a wedding in 3 months.
You can.
You can.
Have you?
Yeah. I don't want to do it again. I mean, no, I shouldn't say that. You can do it.
Wow.
If your expectations are in check.
Well said.
And you understand, you're in touch with reality, and you know what you want, but you also understand you're planning it in 3 months, then great. Would I want to do $100,000 wedding in 3 months? Absolutely not.
I couldn't even fathom that.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
That'll be like stress eating.
Yeah.
That's like
I should really be like 250 pounds. But not. I should be way buff because my son is huge, so my arms are always tired from carrying him. So like, I should be a size 1 by now for real. Size 0. 1 is junior sizing. I'm not junior, guys. I should be much smaller.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so sooner the better.
Like, why can't I get on the stress wedding diet of 2013? I don't fit any of my honeymoon clothes. It's fine. I'm over it.
It's fine. You've got 2 beautiful children.
There's just more of me to love.
Well
I'm
said.
kidding. I've lost weight. I've been working out. But
I was
still.
gonna say, you look amazing.
The stress diet of 2013 was lovely.
That was the goal. That's goals.
Yeah. That's on there.
Amazing. Okay, so what keeps you, obviously, speaking of family, what keeps you creative and growing and wanting more?
That's a tough question. I feel like this year, I'm actually in a bit of a rut.
Really?
I feel a little stuck. I will say the stuff that inspires me, I actually find myself watching a lot of interior design right now lately, more so than wedding. I'm not consuming as much wedding content as I used to, which is, I think that's partly a symptom of my time. Like I used to have a browse of Style Me Pretty every single day, and I don't do that at all anymore. But I think that's also where the industry has gone, that we're not keeping our eyeballs on blogs as much.
I think so.
Agreed. But I also do feel a little bit stuck this year.
In the creative aspect, in just weddings, like where are you feeling that
a bit in the creative? I feel like, I don't know. I'm going to do a workshop next week. I'm actually going away and doing a design workshop, so I'm hoping that kind of sparks me again.
That's what I was going to say. Is it might just be something that sparks. I feel like this in Ontario, we've had a pretty rough winter.
Yeah,
I think so. God. I don't know if you feel the same.
100.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm always inside anyways. I'm an indoor cat.
So I don't know. I feel like this winter, even if you were inside, I feel it was so dark and gray and blah.
I'm excited for wedding season. I'm really excited about the spaces that I'm working in and the clients that I have. So like that's great. Maybe it's just because it's been so long since I've had a wedding. Now that the season is coming up and I don't typically do winter weddings, maybe that's what I need. I just need to get my hands in it again.
Yeah, just get back out.
Yeah.
That could be it. But I think a lot of people are feeling that way.
It's been a long winter, guys.
Yeah. Long, gray, gross.
Yeah.
So, you think that the creative bug will get sparked when you go to do a workshop or just like start to really get the
I probably just need to get my hands in it again.
Yeah.
I don't love doing style shoots.
Mm-hmm.
I have
remember
a very love-hate, mostly hate relationship with style shoots, which I can always talk more about. You've heard it.
Yes.
I without ranting, like...
You can rant.
I can rant.
We're up to ranting.
I'm not a huge fan of style shoots in spaces that don't actually house weddings or can't house weddings because I feel like that's confusing and misleading to the clients. I don't love asking my professional colleague friends to work for free, and I don't like working for free. So I prefer to build my portfolio. And I mean, having said that, there's amazingly beautiful style shoots out there, and I've done some, and they were worth it, but like I just they're not my bag.
You've always said that though.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a Grinch about it.
I think there's something to that though, because like you said, you don't want to make your friends, your colleagues in the industry work
I would rather
for free,
bring them paying clients,
which make sense.
Technically a style shoot does in a roundabout long-term way.
Yes, some would argue. Yeah. But sometimes it's like, okay, I did that, and now it's just sitting out there.
And again, I think the way that we as the industry and as couples consume that content has also changed. So it used to be you were doing the style shoots mainly to get published and have them featured somewhere, but we don't follow those features anymore. So like, why wouldn't I just fill my Instagram with my real work?
Yes, so true. And I think people want to see that.
But they have a place to help people build their portfolio, and I
build
get
their
that.
portfolio. And I do feel like if I do a creative shoot, I do feel that spark comes back. So they aren't maybe necessary in that sense, but it doesn't it kind of goes away after a while. That like, okay, I did it. And then it just kind of sits on a blog somewhere or in your hard drive, and it's like no one's even really putting those out to really enjoy because it's not real.
I also feel like, and you've been doing this for a long time now too, I feel like it's a little bit confusing and misleading to clients in the way that like, so for me, having done like 50 or more weddings, and I have this whole portfolio of weddings and actual work that I've done, and managed budgets and people and like dynamics and issues and planned all those things, compared to like 5 pretty styled shoots, it's a bit confusing and misleading there.
It is.
But that's also just our industry is so like big and saturated now that like I just need to put my blinders on and my big girl pants and like do my work.
Yeah. That's all you have to do is just be focused. Congrats to you to doing this. Like, like no hard feelings to other people, but it's just like, it's so easy to be bombarded by just all of this stuff.
Yeah. And there's a lot going on. And like, I know what my story is right now and what I have time for and what I'm doing and what my reasoning and what my truth is, to sound like Oprah. Like, I know my truth right now. I know what my life and reality is. And some of it's on Instagram, me with no makeup and a mess and whatever, because that's who I am. Yeah. And I don't really have a filter most of the time. So it me. Yeah. It me. It's
necessary. Yeah. I think people really are hoping to see that. They want to see you. They want to see those real moments over, well, this is styled. This is like a really beautiful.
When oftentimes, if you were to multiply that beautiful tablescape by 15 tables, like, ooh, I mean, I get what they are. They're inspiration for people. And but that's my other, so I could really rant about this all day.
I like that.
My other problem is when it's full of items that aren't actual rentable, usable pieces.
Yes.
So, like, if you couldn't actually recreate that times 15 tables because it's your grandmother's heirloom china or something, that's not really practical.
No.
So I get what it is, and I get that it's everyone exercising their creative muscles. But in reality, it's not practical.
No. Well, even like when you were doing your own wedding, when Mike and I were planning, I'd come up to this attic, put things out because I'm super visual, need to put it all out, and I'd be like, man, I thought it would be a lot like fuller and cooler because that's what we're used to seeing. That's what we do in these styled shoots, and it's like, oh, it's going to be a little more minimalist.
They're a bit misleading.
There's totally misleading, and I spoke with someone else on this podcast about the price. When we look on Pinterest, it's like, oh, that's what I want. Yeah, this times the 50 guests will cost you approximately this.
And that's why sometimes I tell myself, or I say that like I'm kind of the dream crusher. Because I'm not doing myself I'm doing
So
myself
true.
a disservice if I become a yes person, right?
Yes.
So if a client sends me an image of a beautiful sweet table and they say, I love this, can we do this? And I'm like, well, that's, $15 to $20 per person.
Yep.
And we don't have a line item for that in your budget. So
Where's
no, we can't.
Yeah.
So like,
It's beautiful.
sometimes I have to break the bad news.
Right.
And all these beautiful styled shoots, or even Pinterest, kind of does us a disservice because we see all this beautiful stuff and we're consuming all this content. We're seeing everything and it's like, that's gorgeous.
Yep.
It's not, we can't replicate it.
No.
Not at their budget. So my job
Yes.
is always, and my challenge and kind of what I thrive off of is always trying to figure out how can I help my clients to have the wedding they're inspired by and they still get that feeling,
Right.
but on their scale and on their budget, right?
That's
like I'm not going to tell
amazing.
everybody, oh yeah, we can do the 200, like, I can't remember where I first heard this phrase, so forgive me, but champagne taste on a craft beer budget. That's been a big one that I've been thinking
I
about
love
lately
that.
because, we look at all this stuff and we see these beautiful gowns and these incredible style shoots and like beautiful stuff on mainly Instagram nowadays.
For sure.
But it's just not the reality for so many of us. Even someone with a healthy budget.
Oh, for sure.
Where it's like when you're, if you're feeding 150 to 250 people, that's the bulk of your budget. So then trying to figure out how you're going to have the look of the flowers you want on the budget you have. And really my job is to kind of say like, okay, I love this. I love your inspiration. Here's how we're going to have that feeling and still keep
everyone happy.
the budget you want.
Yeah.
That's not going to make you cry and never be able to afford your first home.
Exactly.
Right?
It's so intimidating to actually see these things and be like, oh my God, they're beautiful, but
Yeah.
dream
Or like that
crusher.
gown that is borrowed from the boutique that's like a $2,000 or $3,000 gown. And not everybody's ready or willing to spend that amount on a dress they're going to wear one day. So like
Right.
these shoots are gorgeous, but they're an inspiration point. They're not the bar that every wedding should be held to.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my gosh, you nailed it. We just did a whole second podcast.
Topic number 2 or 3
in
today.
the podcast. Amazing.
Titled Styled Shoots and Why Krista Hates Them.
AKA Dream Crusher. I
Dream
love
Crusher.
that so much.
I need the bumper sticker.
You do. Dream Crusher. Oh my gosh. Okay, so final, what is your predictions for 2020 in terms of wedding styles?
Yeah. So I see things going a lot simpler.
Mm-hmm.
I think. So the funny thing about weddings is I think very different looks will always be in style.
For sure.
Vintage and rustic is still a thing. Fine art still has its place.
Well said, yeah.
But I see things going a little bit more minimalist.
Yeah.
Because I think nowadays a lot of couples are focused on the venue and their setting
Yes.
and the actual
which is
space
great.
where they're hosting their guests.
Yeah.
And the details and things that they have might be more simplified so that they can afford that space and the incredible meal for their guests and not necessarily the whole 9 yards with the ceiling installations and the $200 centerpieces and this, that, and the other thing. So I think things are going to go a little bit more minimal. And that the venue will be a big part of the look and feel of the day.
Amazing. Are you happy about that? Do you like the
Yes.
minimal? Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I think I have a very eclectic style.
Yeah.
And that's why I work well with different people because, I've worked with brides, or I work with brides who love a look and love pretty and elegant and feminine. And I work with clients who love their industrial space.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of
You lean to
I
both.
lean both ways.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, it's hard to, like, when you say what are the wedding trends and what are the colors going to be, it's always going to be all over that place. But I also think things are going to go a lot more monochromatic. And I love, and it's so funny how in Canada compared to the U.S. and like the West Coast U.S., how our trends are a little bit behind. So now I do see more brides talking about neutral wedding parties. So like their bridesmaids in white or ivory along with them.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad that's
100%.
sticking around.
I see that the industry is already really evolving to being more about the celebration and having everyone together more so than like the showiness of what the wedding is.
Amazing.
If that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you find as a wedding planner, does that make it trickier when it's more minimalist?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Because honestly, you could still spend thousands and thousands of dollars on pretty simple flowers.
Simple things,
just depending what you're doing. But at the end of the day, and I say this to everybody now, whether it's like my friends or my clients, people care that the food was delicious and the beer was free.
Free. Yeah.
So like if you're seating your guests on the chairs included with your venue that you hate, at the end of the day, most people won't care.
I think it'll be the couple that will notice.
You'll
the most.
know.
Yeah.
You'll
that's
know.
it.
Like if it wasn't in the budget and you hated them, you'll know. But then don't pick that space.
Yep.
The bottom line is that you two get married and you enjoy your day, and no one's going to write on your tombstone, she didn't have chair covers. Which, please don't have chair covers.
Comma. Please don't do that. But so true.
No offense to those of you with chair covers.
True. But so true.
It won't make or break it.
Yep.
And that's what you've got to focus on. Like, what's going to make or break the day for you? And at the end of it, I mean, we would have had a very different wedding if we'd been paying for it ourselves completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I still, whether it's like a family member, a friend's wedding, or a client, I really kind of say, like, you know, where's this money coming from? And you know your comfort level and like what, you know, an extra $1,000 on floral means now that you can't put towards your new home or your backyard renovation or a honeymoon. Like what memories and priorities are on the table. So I think people just need to focus on, bottom line, it's a celebration of you guys, and that there's no you have to. Like, you have to say certain things legally in your ceremony. But you do not have to have a 4-course seated dinner.
No.
And if your aunt has an issue with that.
Yes. To her. Agreed.
This is my very professional day, guys.
I love that so much. But amazing predictions. I agree. And I think every vendor that has been on this podcast says next year is minimalist, classic. I don't know. I said it weird.
There will always be luxury, elegant weddings. Always. And they have their place.
And always be rustic weddings.
Yeah.
Like you said.
I think we're going to see a trend towards the minimal, simple. And that, I think people hear minimal and they get scared of it being modern.
Right.
And they get scared of modern being like, modern meaning geometric and not like warm
metals.
Yeah. So
but minimalist, even geometric, could be warm.
Yeah 100%.
Yeah,
I think everything's gonna get simplified.
I like that.
Yeah,
best simplified.
Cool.
Oh, I'm excited.
I was gonna say research again.
We got to do our research.
Do your research
and understand.
Simplified is gonna be a trend of 2020.
Krista, thank you so much.
Thank you
for chatting.
Yay! It was so much fun.
We've learned so much. We could
have been here all day.
Literally, I was like, okay, it's 3:18.
This is actually a lot better than I thought timing wise.
I was like, we will have to call your daycare.
Yeah.
And be like,
Dave, go pick up Hannah, please.
Yeah. This is us sending you a message through our podcast to Dave.
Weeks later. Bye, honey.
Well, thank you again. Learned so much. I'm so excited for what KJ & Co. has in store, what Wedball Showcase has in store for us, and all of the other things you have for us.
Yeah. It's all in my brain, you guys.
Exactly.
It needs to come out, but there aren't enough hours in the day.
We're all going to send you some messages like, okay, what is next now? Yeah. It's going to be good and bad.
I'm never going to take another vacation.
No. You deserve those. You definitely deserve those. Amazing. Well, where can we find you?
So, a couple places.
Awesome.
You can find me at KJ & Co., at Wedwell Showcase, at Isle Academy, but it's kind of sleepy.
But we can still see you
right?
there.
I'm still there, maybe. And obviously kjandco.ca.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And in terms of Wedwell, for any vendors that are out there, have you opened up the application process?
So slowly but surely, I'm trying to find the time to polish off our 2020 exhibitor kit. So what'll happen is this spring, I'm going to open it to our returning vendors first and give everybody who took a chance on us the first year, basically first right of refusal. Then it will go to a round of invitations again, and then I'll open it up for applications.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Okay.
So spring, summer.
So keep your eyes peeled. Okay. Good to know. And we are definitely excited about that last hour of vendors.
For the industry happy
Yes.
hour or whatever I'm going to call it.
Okay.
So if you have a name for that, let me know.
Okay. We'll also reach out to you. Thanks again, Krista. Enjoy your day.
Thanks for having me.